guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. I hope you enjoy it and hopefully find it helpful. If you're new here and this is the first time that you have seen my channel, hi, welcome. My name is Maya and I would love if you would subscribe. So as you can see today, I'm going to be showing you how I DIY'd the aged vintage stool that a lot of designers feature in their designs. I absolutely love this look and I have been on the hunt for some stools for quite some time. I love these different variations, the circle, the rectangle, but I don't love the price. They're just way out of my budget personally. So I figured there has to be a way that I can do this on my own. So I went ahead and went on Facebook Marketplace and I looked for stools, and I would recommend Facebook Marketplace, yard sales, thrift stores, vintage stores. You know, you might find something. I do think probably at a vintage store you'll end up running into that same issue of kind of higher prices, and of course if you are willing to spend it, hey, go for it. These different websites also have beautiful ones, but for me personally, like I said, just out of my budget. So I went onto Facebook Marketplace and I looked for stools, I looked for chairs, I looked for wooden chairs, wooden stools, benches. Like, I just put in different variations, hoping to find something that kind of mimicked that look and that shape. And so I found a set of 3 for $15, which I was so excited about. And so I have basically a stool for $5, and I'm really excited that I found that. And the other thing that you want to make sure of is that they are solid wood. If they're made out of like manufactured wood or laminate or anything like that, obviously you can't sand that down and stain it. So you want to make sure that you're looking for things that are solid wood if you also are wanting to do something like this. So I don't have a sander, and that was the first thing that I knew I needed, obviously. And so I went to Amazon and picked up this sander here. And I did my research. I looked at a couple different options. My husband personally, like, all his tools are Makita, and I love the fact that he has like batteries, so I wouldn't have been like committed to a cord, but they are just a little bit more pricey, and being that this is my first sanding project, I didn't want to invest that much in a sander, especially if I didn't know what I'm doing, right? So this one was the most reasonably priced sander that I found, with the best reviews. So the reviews were really great on this one. It is corded, which is kind of a bummer, but I figured, you know, if that's an easy workaround. So this is the Black & Decker 5-inch random orbit sander, and again, the reviews were really great, and so that was what sold me. And then I picked up some, obviously, sanding sheets, and I went with these. These were also really greatly reviewed, and this is an 80 piece, which is nice, and it comes in like different grits, which I thought was nice, because again, being that this is my first time, I wanted to make sure that I had, you know, different options just to kind of see and get a feel for what worked best. So obviously I needed to get the 5-inch as well, because the sander is 5 inches, and so you want to make sure of that as well. And then of course I picked up the stain, which I will show you guys in the part of the video when I start staining. But yeah, that's the plan, is to sand them and then age them. You can do that with a bunch of different tools, and I'll show you guys, and then of course stain it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and let's go ahead and just jump in. So I'm going to be sanding the bench. I keep calling it a bench. I'm going to sand the stool here in my garage, so I'll go ahead and set up the camera and show you guys how I end up doing it. So here is what I am starting with, just a stool right off of Facebook Marketplace, like I said. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and wipe it down. It's been sitting here in the garage for a long time, so it's definitely dusty and dirty, so I want to get off anything that I can before I start sanding this down. So it was really nice because the sander actually came with one sheet of sandpaper and also a little bag to catch all of the debris. So if you don't go with this specific sander, obviously that's totally fine, but I would highly recommend getting one with this bag. It saved me so much of a cleanup and just getting all of that in the air. Also, I highly recommend you wear a face mask and goggles. I could not find any anywhere, so do as I say, not as I do. But again, that little bag did do a really nice job of catching most of it. I did find that whenever I use a sander at an angle, it worked better, but the debris was going into the air versus into the bag. I don't know if you're supposed to do that or not. If you are a pro sander, please let me know in the comments or give me some feedback. I would love to know. But here is how it was going. It worked really, really well. I couldn't find the grit on the packaging or anything, but I will try to see if I can find it in the instructions or anything to let you guys know what kind of grit that little sandpaper had. Alrighty, so today is day 2 of sanding down the stool. Honestly, I could have finished it on day 1, but I didn't feel like it. Honestly, I just wanted to go back into the house. Yeah, today I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the sanding. I'll show you guys how much I have left to do. Like, it's honestly not a lot, but I was pretty over it at that point. So I'll go ahead and finish sanding the stool, and then I'll show you guys how I'm going to distress it to make it look more vintagey and worn. And then I'll show you guys the stain that I got and how I stain it. So we are approaching the exciting part, but I just need to finish that sanding. So let's go ahead and get to it. Here you can see I have very minimal sanding left to do, kind of just like these inner parts and then the bottom. I'm still debating if I even want to sand that because nobody's gonna see it, but yeah, it's just these inside parts that I need to finish. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So for the tools, I ended up just collecting some tools that my husband had. I ended up using this handsaw probably the most out of all of them. I started with this method at first, and it did do, you know, a little something something, but I wasn't totally sold on it, and I was like, this is gonna take forever. I'm gonna be here all day. So I decided to switch it up, and I started to use the handsaw, and 100% this was way better. It accomplished more of what I was going for. It wasn't, you know, 100% like what I needed, but it definitely could do the job if you have, you know, lots of time and patience to do this. So I didn't have a method per se. I kind of just went for it. So if you end up doing this, just go with your gut. Just kind of, you know, do whatever. With this being a, you know, DIY vintage stool, there is a lot of grace there because it's meant to look old and worn and imperfect, right? So you don't have to do this perfectly. I did find, like I said, that the handsaw was just not cutting it, so my husband pulled out this bad boy. I don't even know what this is. Is this an electric saw? I don't know, but there it is. Honestly, I was a little bit scared to use this. It was definitely more powerful than I expected, and it just was, you know, a little bit scary. So I went ahead and just used it mostly to get those thicker edges. Obviously, with something kind of worn and old and vintage, it's not going to have those perfect sharp lines. And so yeah, I used it on the main parts, the seat and then the 4 legs. Those little pieces in the center I didn't want to touch just because they are pretty skinny and fragile, so I decided to just handle those with the handsaw. But again, no method here, just kind of going with my gut and getting those edges dulled. And then again, like I said, just going in with the handsaw for those skinnier pieces. So here is what it ended up looking like. I was pretty pleased with it. I probably could have done more, but I thought this was enough, honestly, and I have 2 other stools that I can mess with next. So after that, I wanted to go ahead and sand it down. Obviously, you don't want this to be something dangerous in the house, so you want to just sand off all of the debris or the like splinter type stuff, or where you may have broken it or anything like that, just so that it's nice and smooth and you're able to easily, move it around the house or whatever. So with the sanding done, it was time to move on to staining the stool. I went to Home Depot, but they didn't have this specific brand, so I went to Lowe's and they had it in tons of different shades. I ended up picking up Simply White and then also Early American. I had done a ton of research looking at different shades, and this was the combination that I liked best. So I went ahead and started with that first coat of Simply White and just used an old rag that I had laying around. So it does say to mix it up first, which I did off camera, so make sure that you do that. It says to not shake it, so you want to make sure that you have something. I would recommend getting like a stir stick from the paint department. I ended up using an old like packaging I found in the recycling bin, so you'll see that in a bit, but definitely make sure that you stir it really well so that it is nice and combined. And again, you guys, this is my first time staining anything, so I didn't really have experience, I was kind of just going with the flow, doing what felt right, because again, this is supposed to look worn and torn and all of that. I knew that it didn't matter 100% just because it could look imperfect, but if you have any feedback for me, if you're a pro stainer, please let me know in the comments. Funny because it was such a nice day on this day, and I obviously had the garage door fully open, and so many people were like riding their bikes and going on walks, and so people were like stopping and asking me like, oh, what are you doing? And I was like so shy with the camera there, like they probably think I'm so weird, but this is what I do for you guys. Alrighty, today is the 3rd day that I am working on this stool. Just like previously, I could have finished the stool yesterday, but just with the timing, if I had stained it with the second stain, it was just getting a little bit dark, so I wanted to make sure that I had nice good lighting so you guys could see the true color and all of that. So I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like after I did the Simply White stain, and that was just one coat. So here is what it's looking like right now. Just very light, kind of a white wash look to it. And the next step was to, like I said, do 1 coat of the Early American. So here is what it looked like after I was all done staining it. I did end up letting it dry completely overnight. I didn't mention as well, between the Simply White and the Early American, I also did the same thing. I let it dry completely overnight. On the packaging it did say that you could let it dry 2 hours, but I just let it dry, like I said, overnight. And then of course it wouldn't be a Maya's Nook video without a little cleaning segment. And that was actually just from when I was distressing it. Obviously there was no bag to catch that debris, and so you can see it was really minimal, so not too bad. So again, here is what we started with, very orangey tone, and here is the finished product. I love it. I am so proud of myself, honestly, because being this was my first time, I wasn't too sure what the result was going to be, but I'm really pleased with it. I'm really happy with it. Like I said, I have 2 other stools that I'm going to experiment with, and so you can keep an eye out for those videos. I want to do something a little bit different, but as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.